In the shadowed vaults beneath the imperial palace on Terra, where the air hummed with the latent thunder of ancient machineries and the whispers of futures yet unwritten, the Emperor of mankind stood alone. It was the year 30,000 by the old calendars, the eve of what would become known as the Horus Heresy, a cataclysm he had foreseen in fragments, like shattered stained glass reflecting blood and betrayal. He was not yet the skeletal god corpse enthroned in golden agony. He was vitality incarnate, a colossus of psychic might cloaked in human form, his eyes twin abysses that pierced the veil of time itself. The chamber was a sanctum of forbidden knowledge, walls etched with sigils that predated humanity's crawl from the cradle worlds. Holographic projections flickered like dying stars, swirling eddies of the warp, the jagged silhouettes of demon legions clawing at reality's seams, and farther out, beyond the galaxy's rim, a shadow vast and insatiable, the Tyranids. Hive fleets, they would be called, extragalactic predators drawn from the void's endless hunger. He had glimpsed them in visions, not as invaders, but as instruments, tools forged in the cold forge of evolution, mindless yet perfect in their rapacity. The Emperor's mind, a lattice of infinite threads, wove the tapestry of destiny. He knew the betrayal brewing in his sons' hearts, the War Master's fall to Chaos's seductive rot. He foresaw his own mortal wound, the golden throne that would bind his essence like a funeral pyre, sustaining him through millennia of torment. And he saw its end, the throne's mechanisms crumbling under the weight of ages, the psychic dam bursting, unleashing a torrent of warp-spawned horrors upon Terra. Billions of demons, pouring through the rift like bile from a ruptured vein, drowning the throne world in eternal night. Humanity's cradle would become its grave, the Imperium fracturing into isolated embers, snuffed one by the gods of ruin. But in that doom he divined salvation, not in defiance, but in orchestration. The astronomican, his great beacon, was no mere lighthouse for navigators. It was a lure, a siren's call broadcast into the void. He had amplified it subtly, threading psychic harmonics that resonated across intergalactic gulfs, drawing the Tyranid swarms like moths to an inferno. They were coming, those chitinous nightmares, bioships vast as continents, tendrils of the hive mind probing toward the Milky Way, not as conquerors of man, but as unwitting allies against the true enemy, chaos. "The swarm devours all," he murmured to the empty air, his voice a rumble that echoed like tectonic plates shifting. "Let it devour the devourers." In his visions, the end played out like a grand opera of annihilation. The throne fails, the warp rift yawns wide. Demons manifest in their trillions, horned behemoths of Khorne, plague-ridden grotesques of Nurgle, scheming horrors of Tzinch, and the lascivious fiends of Slanesh, swarming Terra's spires, turning the imperial palace into a slaughterhouse of souls. But as the flood crests, the Tyranids arrive, their hive fleets blotting the stars, bioplasma reigning like divine judgment. Genestealers and carnifexes clash with bloodthirsters and lords of change. The hive mind's shadow in the warp smothers demonic essence, starving them of the emotional fuel they crave. Two infinities collide, the insatiable hunger of the swarm against the eternal malice of the gods, and in their mutual devouring, Terra buys time. Yet even gods must plan for retreat. The Emperor extended his will across the ether, touching minds alien and ancient, the Eldar. Proud remnants of a fallen empire, they too had foreseen fragments of this apocalypse. Through veiled psychic communiques, dreams planted in the scrying crystals of farseers, he forged a fragile pact, not friendship, for xenophobia burned in his human core, but necessity. The craft worlds would lend their webway mastery, opening ephemeral gates amid the chaos. Billions of humans, administratum clerks, hive workers, loyalist Astartes, would flee through those shimmering portals to distant worlds, seeds of a new imperium scattered beyond the carnage. He envisioned it, Eldar rangers, lithe and ethereal, materializing in Terra's underhives, their shuriken catapults singing as they carve paths through demon hordes. Farseers channeling the webway's labyrinthine paths, portals blooming like wounds in reality, swallowing evacuees whole. You aid us now, his psychic missive had thundered to their councils, or your own doom follows. The swarm and the warp will consume all if unchecked. The Eldar had acquiesced, their motives veiled, perhaps to preserve their own fragile existence, or to spite Chaos's triumph. It mattered not. The Emperor's plan was a gambit of cosmic scale, pitting abomination against abomination, buying humanity's survival with the blood of monsters. As the projections faded, the Emperor turned from the chamber, his golden armor gleaming in the dim light. The heresy loomed, a storm on the horizon, but he walked toward it unbowed. In the grim darkness of the far future, where there was only war, he would engineer the ultimate heresy, turning the galaxy's greatest threats into unwitting saviors. The swarm approached. The gods laughed in the warp, and the master of mankind smiled, a cold, eternal promise of defiance.